approach being an anti-drug approach?
Yes, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to make the point, because in the present atmosphere of hysteria and misinformation, this is too easily run over. It is important to make the distinction that what has happened really is that the well of language on this issue of consciousness alteration, the well of language has been poisoned, where you cannot make any sense if you use the words that have been granted us to use. I mean, let's take the word drug. You know, we have a drug war, but as I drove into town, I noticed a drug store. Well, it's that we, you know, with that compressed vocabulary, you can't make any sense at all of what's going on. So I think what we have to do is make an operational argument about drugs and say, you know, what is it that society finds offensive about drug abuse? And then what does that have to do with psychedelics? Well, my own analysis of this is that what is offensive about drug abuse is a unconscious, repetitious, and demonstrably destructive pattern of behavior. And whenever you see someone behaving that way, everyone feels repulsed and brought down. And in fact, severe drug addictions are like this. But as a matter of record, this is what psychedelics make absolutely impossible. Number one, the notion of unexamined behavior. How can you have unexamined behavior if you take psychedelics? It holds you up into a blast furnace of self-reflection. It does not promote repetitious drug use. I mean, I consider myself a great fan of psilocybin, and if I can screw my courage to the sticking point a couple of times a year, I'm doing all right. I know someone who says DMT is their favorite substance. And when I asked them, when was the last time you did it, they said 1968. And it lasted 3 minutes. This is not a pattern of drug abuse, you see. So it's a matter of educating the public, and this is probably a good place for me to get a pitch in. I wrote a book on contract for Bantam, and hopefully it'll be out next fall. And I'm hoping, I want to call it, and I'm hoping they'll go along with me, Why Eve Was Right, Plants, Drugs, and History. Because right there, in the beginning of the Western story in Genesis, what you get is it's the story of history's first drug bust. It's the story of a woman who follows her own mind and makes a decision about consciousness alteration, and then it works. I mean, she says, and they were naked, and she perceived them as naked. In other words, she got true information about the situation. But you have Yahweh there, mumbling to himself as he wanders around the garden in an old bathrobe, and he's saying, if they eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, they will become as we are. That was always the issue, you see. It wasn't a health issue. It wasn't an abuse issue. It's about who finds out what's really going on and who doesn't. And this book I wrote for Bantam makes very clear that the style of a culture is almost always and invariably a style of seeing the world through a certain set of drugs or a drug.